You were told happiness was a warm place, a soft light, a place without storms. You were told that pain is the enemy and pleasure the prize, that if you avoid suffering, you'll find peace. But no one told you that running from pain is the surest way to bury your soul alive. Nietzsche once said, "To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." But in our modern world, we are taught the opposite: to erase discomfort, to silence every shadow, to sterilize the rawness of existence. What remains is a sanitized life, empty, numb, quietly despairing. But if you have ever felt that gnawing, silent ache, the feeling that something is missing even when things are fine, you are not broken. You are simply awakening to a deeper truth. You will never be happy by trying to avoid suffering. Let us begin. The tyranny of comfort and the cult of ease. You wake up in a bed softer than anything your ancestors ever knew. The room is warm, the phone glows with distractions. There's no immediate threat, no wild beast, no war, yet inside, a quiet tension brews. We live in the most comfortable time in human history, but we have become weaker, not stronger, because in our worship of comfort, we have made pain the ultimate evil, and so meaning quietly slips through our fingers. We do not ask, "What is worth suffering for?" We ask, "How do I avoid anything that hurts?" This is the new religion, the cult of ease. But it is a false god. Nietzsche warned us, "The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die." And we, addicted to comfort, have forgotten how to shed our skins. Why happiness without suffering is a hollow illusion. There is a deep truth hidden beneath all true joy. It has known pain. The sunrise only moves the soul because you've survived the dark. Love tastes sweet because you've known loneliness. Victory only matters when it was hard to achieve. Modern happiness is a shallow pool. It looks refreshing, but dive in and you'll hit the bottom with a crack, because it was not built on depth, it was built on evasion. Nietzsche saw this clearly. He did not preach happiness, he preached strength, the ability to carry one's suffering, to transmute it into art, truth, creation. To seek happiness without suffering is to build a palace on sand. Sooner or later, it collapses. The anesthetized soul, how avoidance kills vitality. Avoidance is not neutral. It is active decay. Every time you retreat from discomfort, a part of you dies. Not loudly, not dramatically, but slowly, invisibly. The death of courage, the shrinking of will, the dulling of spirit. We become anesthetized souls, walking, working, scrolling, but not living. Nietzsche would call this nihilism in disguise. Not the loud, philosophical kind, but the quiet, everyday kind. The kind that says, "Don't feel too much." The kind that numbs you just enough to keep you functioning, but never enough to wake you up. Real life, the kind that cracks you open, sets you ablaze, dares you to create, that life cannot be lived without suffering. Nietzsche's challenge: suffer consciously or die slowly. Nietzsche's challenge is brutal and beautiful. Do not flee suffering. Embrace it. Make it conscious. Make it meaningful. Let your pain teach you. Let it shape your strength. Let it be the fire that purifies, not the acid that corrodes. To suffer consciously is to become fully alive. To die slowly in comfort is to betray the deepest truth of your being. So here is the uncomfortable, radiant truth. You will never be happy by trying to avoid suffering, but you might become something far more powerful. Awake, amor fati, loving your fate, including the pain. There is a whisper in your suffering, a voice ancient and deep. This, too, belongs. Nietzsche called it amor fati, the love of fate, not tolerance, not mere acceptance, but the fierce, radical embrace of everything life throws at you. Joy, grief, failure, betrayal, triumph. To say yes, even to the storm. In a world that seeks control, amor fati is a rebellion. It says, "I do not wish the pain away. I let it shape me. I let it burn away my illusions. I let it become part of my becoming." Because the truth is this: you cannot selectively numb life. When you try to block the sorrow, you also block the joy. When you run from the fire, you run from your transformation. The soul is not a child to be protected. It is a warrior to be tested, and pain is its rite of passage. Fire as purification, not punishment. We were taught to fear the fire, to see suffering as something wrong, as punishment, as failure. But the mystics and the madmen knew the deeper truth. Fire is holy. It does not come to destroy, it comes to refine, to melt away the false, to test the metal of your spirit. Nietzsche did not glamorize pain, but he respected its power. He saw it as sacred, because only through it can the mask be torn off and the real self revealed. Ask yourself, who were you before life broke you, and who are you now? The second self, forged through suffering, that is the one who knows. That is the one who can endure. That is the one who can create. There is no becoming without burning, no gold without the crucible, no soul without the wound. Trials as the birthplace of inner nobility strength does not come from peace. It comes from pressure, from being brought to your knees again and again, and choosing to rise. Every trial you survive carves something into you, a deeper stillness, a sharper clarity, a nobility not given, but earned. Nietzsche despised the softness of modern man, the man who avoids hardship, who flinches at difficulty, who would rather be safe than great. You do not become noble by inheritance. You become noble through endurance. Every betrayal, every loss, every moment of despair, these are not obstacles. They are initiations. They are the raw materials of your strength. You are not broken because you suffer. You are being carved. The wound as the womb of transformation. There is a strange alchemy hidden in pain. The deeper the wound, the greater the potential for rebirth. Jung called it the shadow. Nietzsche called it the abyss. Christ called it the cross. But all point to the same mystery, that what breaks you open can also make you whole. The wound is not the end. It is the womb. It is where you begin again. More real, more fierce, more awake. And if you dare to stay with your suffering, not to fix it, not to escape it, but to feel it, you may just discover the divine spark in the ashes. This is the paradox of suffering. What feels like death may be the beginning of your true life. How consumerism sold us the fantasy of painless joy. They told you happiness could be bought. In a bottle, in a screen, in a smile from strangers. That if you just had more ease, more likes, more things, you would finally feel whole. But what they sold you was anesthesia, not joy, pleasure, not purpose, and beneath it all a quiet emptiness no dopamine hit can fill. Consumerism feeds on dissatisfaction. It needs you to stay slightly broken, slightly hungry, never quite enough. It teaches you to medicate your suffering, not investigate it. Nietzsche saw this sickness long before the age of iPhones and influencers. He called it the last man, the one who seeks comfort over greatness, who avoids pain and lives small. He smiles but does not sing. He consumes but does not create. Happiness sold without struggle is counterfeit. And you, if you're listening, if you're still burning, you were made for something real. The algorithm of distraction, dopamine versus meaning. You scroll, you tap, you laugh at the meme, you double tap the photo, you feel a spark of validation, and then emptiness. This is not your fault. This is design. We live inside machines built to hijack your nervous system, to keep you stimulated but never satisfied, entertained but never engaged, numb but never nourished. Dopamine is cheap. Meaning is expensive. Meaning requires effort. It demands sacrifice, introspection, time spent in silence, time spent suffering, and that makes it dangerous to systems built on your compliance. Nietzsche would call this the herd's paradise. Safe, predictable, emotionally flat. You're not living, you're grazing. If you want a real life, you must reclaim your attention. You must let the silence hurt a little until it speaks. Therapy culture and the overprotection of the psyche. We live in an age obsessed with healing, but allergic to hardship. An age that says, you shouldn't feel that. Let's fix that. Let's diagnose that. But sometimes your sadness is not a disorder. It's a signal. Your anxiety is not a malfunction. It's your soul resisting a fake life. Nietzsche warned of the danger of pathologizing suffering, not because healing is wrong, but because not all pain is a problem. Some pain is a teacher. There is a difference between soothing the wound and silencing the lesson. We risk becoming fragile, Not because we feel too much, but because we're told we shouldn't feel at all. Strength isn't built in padded rooms. It's built in confrontation, with fear, with chaos, with reality. Sometimes you don't need a cure, you need a confrontation. Why fleeing discomfort breeds weakness. Every time you escape discomfort, you abandon part of yourself. You train your soul to fear life, to shrink from anything sharp, raw, or real. You stop saying what you think. You stop doing what scares you. You stop being who you are and start becoming what is safe. But there is no greatness in safety, no poetry in sedation. Nietzsche knew this, that what doesn't kill you can make you stronger, but only if you face it, not numb it. Not explain it away, not spiritualize it. To grow, you must feel. To feel, you must risk. To risk, you must suffer. This is the ancient contract of existence, and no algorithm, no pill, no ideology will ever void it. Dancing with chaos, courage over certainty. You were taught to seek stability, to map life like a safe, linear road. But life laughs at maps. It twists, it burns, it breaks the very ground you walk on. And in that chaos, in the shattered expectations, the betrayals, the nights you thought would never end, you meet something terrifying and true, yourself. Nietzsche urges not the fearful step, but the dance. To dance with chaos is not to control it, but to move with it. To stay grounded in the whirlwind, not by certainty, but by courage. You will not always understand what is happening to you, but you can choose to move with it, not as a victim, not as a coward, but as a participant in the great drama of existence. Because only when you step into the wild does the soul remember how to move freely again. Building your inner cathedral through suffering. We dream of temples, of sacred spaces, of places that give us peace. But the deepest temple you will ever build is within, and its foundation is pain. Brick by brick, moment by moment, your suffering lays the stones. Not in bitterness, but in becoming. When Nietzsche spoke of becoming who you are, he did not mean a comfortable unveiling. He meant war. He meant discipline. He meant dying to the false self, so that something vast and luminous could rise. You are the architect of your own spirit, and every time you walk through the fire and do not turn away, a new wall of your inner cathedral rises, silent, sacred, indestructible. When pain becomes sacred, the ritual of growth. There are wounds that don't just ache, they initiate. They mark the threshold between who you were and who you must become. In ancient times, pain was ritualized. The rite of passage always included blood, fear, isolation, because to become fully human is no small thing. It demands the death of the boy, the death of the girl, so the soul can emerge. Today we fear pain like a plague. But what if pain, real, raw, soul-level pain, is a forgotten sacrament? What if the ache in your chest, the loneliness, the despair, what if it's not punishment, but calling? Nietzsche would say, bless your pain. Not because it feels good, but because it carves deep enough to make room for the eternal. Facing the dragon within, integration of the shadow. The dragon is not out there. It lives inside you. It's every impulse you repress, every truth you deny, every wound you hide behind a smile. It is your anger, your lust, your envy, your power. You were told to tame it, to chain it, to starve it, but Nietzsche and later Jung knew the deeper path, integration. You do not become whole by cutting yourself into polite pieces. You become whole by turning inward, descending into your cave and facing the dragon, not to slay it, but to claim it. Only then can you wield your full strength. Only then can you walk through the world as a force, not of destruction, but of dangerous, unapologetic authenticity. Because what you hide owns you. What you face, you master. The joy that only the strong can taste. There is a kind of joy you cannot access until you've been broken. A joy not made of pleasure, but of presence. It does not giggle. It does not entertain. It radiates. It is the joy of one who has walked through hell and came out whole. Of one who no longer fears life's cruelty because he has made peace with it. Of one who has nothing left to lose and therefore everything to give. Nietzsche called this the joy of the overman, not because he is above others, but because he is beyond illusion. True joy is earned, and it is fierce. It has suffered, and yet it sings. Transmutation from victimhood to victory. You can either remain the victim of your suffering, or you can transmute it. Transmutation is not denial, is not pretending the pain never happened. It is alchemy, to take the lead of your wounds and forge gold, to say, this broke me, and yet I'm stronger because of it. To use your scars not as excuses, but as sources of wisdom. The victim says, why me? The warrior says, because me. Nietzsche reminds us, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, but only if you stop running, only if you choose to use what once tried to destroy you. Pain is not the end, it is the furnace of your rising. How suffering reveals what truly matters. When everything falls apart, the masks, the comfort, the illusions, you are left naked with one question: what truly matters? The noise falls away, the opinions, the status, the likes, the superficial friendships, gone. What remains is raw, unfiltered being. Suffering strips you of the non-essential, and in that stripping, something essential is born. It may be love, it may be truth, it may be the quiet, stubborn desire to create something that matters, even if no one claps. Nietzsche's eternal return dares us to ask, if you had to live this life over and over, pain and all, what would you choose to keep? Your answer is your essence. Guard it with your life. Live deeply, not safely, the overman's path to meaning. Safety is a cage. Depth is a wilderness. You were not born for shallow waters. You were born to dive, to drown, to discover a pearl so radiant it changes everything. The overman does not seek happiness, he seeks meaning. He does not fear pain, he fears a life unlived. He walks alone sometimes, he speaks truths that disturb. He chooses the path of most resistance because he knows that's where the soul sharpens. And now, so must you. Walk into the fire. If you've made it this far, you already know this is not about becoming happy. This is about becoming whole. So here is your call. Stop running from the fire. Walk into it. Let it burn what isn't you. Let it forge what is. Unfollow the noise. Sit with your suffering. Make art from your agony. Speak what you're afraid to say. Do what the comfort-addicted world tells you not to do. Because you, yes, you, were not made for safety. You were made for depth, for fire, for truth. And if you're ready to keep walking this path into yourself, into meaning, into greatness, then follow the next video, because your journey has just begun.